Hi, I'm Lance Echt, proprietor of the Woodsman Shop. Today we're going to discuss axes. I've got a couple of premium axes right here. Gransfors Brooks Small Forest Axe and an H&B Forge Tomahawk. The thing with axes, if you're looking at them just kind of from a novice eyes, you're going to notice that some are real small like this, and then they can get a lot bigger. Basically, when using an axe, it's kind of a compromise. Do you want something that's small and you can put it in your pack and you can carry it around, or do you want something that's bigger? Bigger axe is usually going to do more chopping with the same amount of work, assuming that you're dealing with axes that are a similar quality, a similar level of sharpness, and the same user is using them. Bigger axe get more work done. If you're just working around your homestead and you're not traveling very far with it, then there's a pretty good argument for using a larger axe. If it's an axe that's going to go in your bug out bag, or if you're a hunter and you want to use this to put your animals, build a little survival shelter if you get stuck out in the snow, then there's a pretty strong argument for carrying something smaller like these. So axes, like a lot of tools that we use in bushcraft on the homestead, prepper tools, you're dealing with a compromise. So what I'm going to show you here are a pretty neat compromise. These are what are typically called hatchets. They're kind of large for a hatchet, kind of small for an axe. Really nice balance of utility and size. Both of these cost about the same. They will run anywhere from 100 to 125 bucks. We'll start out with the Gransfors Brooks Small Forest Axe. It's a nice leather sheath. We'll take that off. This is made by a company in Sweden called Gransfors Brooks. They've been making axes for probably close to 100 years. In the last decade or so, they've become really famous in Europe and Scandinavia and Britain and Canada. The bushcraft crowd really loves these axes. They're totally utilitarian, very purposeful, no frills, nothing on them that doesn't need to be there to get the job done. That said, they're a very premium axe. This will run probably around 100 and a quarter from most shops. They're kind of hard to get because there's only about 10 guys in Sweden that are forging these things, and they're very popular. That said, if you can get your hands on one, a great axe uses a premium piece of hickory on the handle. It's treated with linseed oil and waxes. Handle to the head is very tight. Something like this is a lightweight handy axe. You can carry it in your pack. You can use it for splitting wood. It's big enough that you can fell a small tree with it. It's something that will do a lot of jobs, and it'll do a pretty good task of it. The steel on this is a very high quality Swedish high carbon steel. These have a pretty hard heat treatment compared to most axes. Compared to some cheapo hardware store Chinese axe, there's no comparison. This is going to work so much better. You can put a razor sharp edge on it. You can literally shave with these the way they come from the factory. It'll hold its edge for a long time. Great axe, like I say, for splitting wood, felling some trees, building a shelter, taking apart an animal if you're a hunter. Of a similar size and a similar weight, a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, but pretty similar for the most part, is this one made by H&B Forge in Ohio. You'll notice something different right away. The way that the handle is attached to the head and the shape of the head. This is called an axe or a hatchet, has an oval shaped eye and a fairly complicated handle. This is not something that you're going to whittle a handle from scratch in the woods or in your shop and put a new handle on it. Not very easily. It takes a bit of skill, and usually you'll have to buy another replacement handle, and it'll have to be properly fitted in. It's a little more sophisticated. This is a more modern design. This H&B Forge Tomahawk was pretty popular with this shape of axe called a tomahawk. Was pretty popular with the Indians and with the frontiersmen, for the simple reason that if you're out in the woods, which if you're living that sort of lifestyle, that's what you were in all of the time, you didn't have a shop nearby where you could make a new handle, or you didn't have a mail order company where you could quickly get another handle. You had to make your handle right there on the trail, and that's why this is popular. Again, basically just a stick. You slip it in through this end. It's a little bit thicker here. It wedges itself in place. This particular axe made by H&B Forge is called the Camp Large. It has a pole on the end, so you can use that for driving tent stakes, or if you have to hit stuff, as opposed to Some tomahawks might not have that and they'll just be smooth on the end. So it's kind of a handy cam tool. He forges, one fellow who makes these in Ohio, Jared, he makes them out of 2 pieces of steel. Most of the head is made out of 1018, which is a low carbon steel, and then the very edge is made out of 1095, which is a high carbon steel, and that's folded in, forged in, and then he does a differential heat treatment. So the edge is very hard and the rest of it is very soft. Similar thing with the Grangefords Brukes. They use 1 piece of steel, but they have the edge hardened and then the rest of it is soft. So what that gives you is the ability to abuse the axe if you ever had to. It gives you the ability to use the axe under normal circumstances for a very long time without chipping the axe or without causing quick wear and quick dulling of the blade. You have this hard edge, so it stays sharp a long time. The rest of it is soft, so it can take a lot of abuse. It's very tough, and yet at the same time you can keep your edge. I sold one of these to a friend of mine a couple weeks ago. He took it elk hunting, and he's a real axe man, very knowledgeable with axes, owns a lot of axes. And he came back, he was so enthusiastic, so amazed. He said, man, this H&B Forge axe, I used it on this elk and I just wanted to abuse it. I wanted to see what it would do. Chopped the legs off of it, chopped the pelvis with it, did all of his butchering with it. He said that the edge was still sharp. Not only just sharp, it didn't even roll over it, which is very uncommon. Usually there'd be some sort of a chip or some sort of rollover on the edge. None of that, but it was even still sharp when it was done. So really well made. You can expect the same kind of performance from the Swedish Grangefords Brukes. So there you have it. If you're looking for a premium all-round axe hatchet, 2 great products to look at.